gute Woche, gut gebencht Jahr. Share with you gewaltige Wort from the Balatanya, Schusse Yogan Aleinu. You can have a little in the background if they want. He says it on the Pasuk that we say now in the coming days and weeks. Ki imcha haslicha leman tivare. David HaMelech says in Kapitel Kuf Lamed in Tehillim Shiramalos Mima'amakim Krosicha Hashem, which is said Rosh Hashanah, Ser Simei Tshuva, Yom Kippur. So in the Kapitel he says Hashem Shima V'Koili, and he finishes later on, he says Ki imcha haslicha leman tivare. What does that mean in English? With you is forgiveness. Ki imcha, with you, haslicha, you forgive. Leman tivare, in order that people should fear you. Doesn't make sense. All the Mefarshim ask, if you say you don't forgive so that people should fear you, if I know that if I hurt you, you're not going to forgive, habich moira. If I know you're a good skite, you're a mushy fellow, I can insult you, I can harm you, you're going to forgive. So I'm not afraid of you. Right? There are different types of parents, different types of teachers. Those you're afraid of because they're not forgiving. The Pasuk says, Ki imcha aslicha, you always forgive. Laman, why? Tivari, you should be scared. So this is what the Balatanya says. Yeah? His grandson gives it over in his name. He gives a mashal. It's a gewaldige mashal. I don't know if the mashal was understood then as much as it's understood today. But this is the mashal that the Alter Rebbe Balatanya gave. I'll just use current currency to illustrate it, but the mashal is his, it's not my mashal. He says, imagine it's 2006. The real estate market is mamish booming. La'ela, la'ela. Every yatzmach per kone is making lots and lots of money on real estate. Baruch Hashem, hopefully he saved up a little bit also. But probably not. So, he decides it's time to up the level, to upgrade the market, to upgrade the situation. So he buys property in Manhattan. He's going to build a whole block of condominiums. He takes out a loan from the bank for no less than $45 million. He's going to build, but it's very obvious that his profits are going to be not double, but triple, if not more. He'll be able to pay back the debt. All's good. Comes 2008. Yizgadal v'yizkadash. There's a recession. Nobody's buying his condominiums. He has no money to develop it. No money to pay back the debt. And there's a $45 million loan without interest. So, he calls up the manager of the bank. It's time to meet. We got to negotiate. Says the Balatanya, there's two types of meetings. Sometimes you come into the manager, this is what he says. He looks you in the face and you tell him, I would love to pay the loan, but you know the matzav, there was a crash. Everybody's hurting. It's time to bite the bullet. I gotta buy the bullet. You gotta buy the bullet. Let's make a deal. The man looks at him and says, no way. 45 million is 45 million plus 20% interest. Every week I need $45,000. You look, you burst out laughing. You go home, you don't even think about it. It's not begeder. The Cheveman is a meshugana. Fine, he'll take you to court. You'll push it off a year, hopefully 15 years. Wees toch de meise, yeah? It reminds me of gewaldige meise. It's not from the mush, but it's a good meise for Selichos. It's also a Jewish story. There was once a poritz. Every Jewish story, Mitzvah Shabbos, is with a poritz. There was one poritz, a mythical poritz, who made it into all the stories. Who he is, meveisnicht, right? Somebody once said, my mother always served leftovers. We're still looking for the original meal. So anyway, this grace of Paritz, the Galach tells him that the Jews have a chush. The Paritz had a dog, and he would mamish love the dog. But he didn't just love the dog. He loved the dog like Americans love dogs. Avis oilam, avirabba, tremendous. And somebody told the Paritz that the Jews have a chush in Kabbalah. They know how to teach dogs how to speak. But they don't tell the secret, but they know how to teach dogs how to speak. So he calls in the Jews and he says, I want you to take my dog and teach him how to speak. Because then we can have mamash a real connection. They said, we don't know how to do it. No. If you don't do it, I'm going to expel everybody from the city. So they meet for 3 days, 3 nights. They're Ashikol. They don't know what to do. Chaim Yankel, the wood chopper, says, Ich geht zum Paritz. They say, what do you know about this? He says, listen, I have an eitzah, you don't have an eitzah, I'm going. Goes to the Paritz, and he says, it's true, we know how to teach dogs how to talk, but it doesn't happen in one day. It takes 7 years. It takes a shmita. 7 years, give me your dog for 7 years. I'll spend time with him. I'll teach him how to speak. In 7 years, I give him back eret. Gewaldig. Gives him the dog 7 years. Comes home with the dog. Jews ask him what happened. He tells them. They start screaming at him. You're crazy? In 7 years, the dog won't speak. He won't expel us. He'll murder every single Jew in town. Chaim Yankel says, listen, this was my cheshbon. In 7 years, lots of things can happen. The first thing, in 7 years, can the hund pegeren? The dog can die. Afila the hund wird nicht pegeren. In 7 years, can the Paritz pegeren? In 7 years, the Paritz can die. Afila the hund and the Paritz will nicht pegeren. In 7 years, can nicht pegeren. I can also die in 7 years. Don't worry about it in 7 years. 7 years pass. Poritz hat nicht gepeget. Und der Hund hat nicht gepeget. Und Chaim Yankel hat nicht gepeget. Everybody is alive. That morning the Poritz sends a messenger. Bring the Hund. We're looking forward. Say, what are you going to do now? He says, don't worry. Chaim Yankel goes to the Poritz and he says, Vayi b'chatzi alayla. Last night when 7 years were up middle of the night, your dog started to talk. Wow, unbelievable. Bring him. He said, 1 minute. Let me tell you what he said. He started to tell all the stories that happened in your bedroom over all the years since he knew you. But it just shoot him right away. Shoot the dog right away. So there's deep lessons in the story. Sometimes how you have to deal with life. Sometimes that's how you have to deal with life. So not every problem. Sometimes there's certain things you have to deal with. You don't have to become, you don't have to get entrenched in every problem. So Nachzil in Yaneinu, the banker says, I want every week, I want tens of thousands of dollars. The lachs, you come home, you tell your wife, he's a meshuggah, there's nobody to work with. You don't even think about it. He says within 3 years, he wants $45 million plus interest. It's not together. There's nothing to deal with. You're not afraid. You're not dealing with it. Fine. You have a headache. Says the Balatanya. But what happens if you come into the bank manager? He looks at you, he holds your hand and he says, listen, I understand I'm not getting paid. But let's work out a deal. Tell me what you could do. I'll tell you what I could do. Let's make a payment plan. 20 years, 30 years. We'll cut the interest. We'll reduce a little bit of the original loan. But tell me what you could do. We're making a plan. And he makes a plan that's considerate and respectful of your situation. Now you come home, you tell your wife, jetzt darf ich abzahlen. Now you got to pay. Ki imcha aslicha, you forgive. Leman tivareh. So now this year, the Rebbeinu Shalom was a type of God who says, I want my 45 million in 2 years with interest. There's nobody to deal with. Haba guten Tag, Shalom my soul. I'll see you next Yom Kippur. I'll see you in 7 years. Ki imcha aslicha. Says about that, it's not how Hashem works. Hashem says, let's talk. I want to know who you are. Tell me about your struggles. Tell me about your recession. Tell me about your depressions. Tell me about the Yetzer Hara. Tell me about your nisyonos. Tell me who you are. Let's work out a life that works for you, according to your capabilities, according to your nature, according to your nisyonos, according to who you really are as a person. Ke'imcha slicha l'man tivareh. When a Jew realizes this, he says, now I have to live up. Now I'm embarrassed if I don't pay. Amar Rabbi Akiva, Ashreichem Yisrael lifnei mi atem etarim mi metayreschem avichem shebashamayim. Everybody knows this, even if not from the Mishnah at the end of Yuma, at least from the Niggin. It's the Niggin. Rabbi Akiva says, how lucky are you, Tayir Yidin, look before whom you're cleansed, and who cleanses you, your Father in heaven. He brings two psukim from Yecheskel, from Yirmiyah. V'zarakti aleichem ma'im tahirim, mikveh Yisrael Hashem, ma mikveh metayres hatmeim, afa kadosh baruch hu metayres Yisrael. The mikveh of the Jewish people is Hashem. Mikveh means hope, but he teaches mikveh as a mikveh, a gathering of water. Ma mikveh metayres hatmeim, just like a mikveh purifies the impure, Hashem purifies the Jewish people. Ashreichem Yisrael, how lucky are you? I want to ask you a simple question, my dear friends. Rabbi Akiva lived some 1,500 years after Moshe Rabbeinu. Sounds like Rabbi Akiva is saying a chiddush. Ashreichem Yisrael, you're so lucky. Look who cleanses you, your Father in heaven. My kamash malam. What's the novel statement of Rabbi Akiva? The whole Chumash, the whole Tanakh is filled with this message that the Jewish people can be cleansed by the Rebbeinu Shalom. The whole mitzvah of Yom Kippur, of Tshuva. He finds a pasuk in Yirmiyah, Mikveh Yisrael Hashem. There's a pasuk in Acharei Mos. Ki bayoyim hazeh yichaper aleichem l'tayir eschem mikol chateiseichem lifnei Hashem titaru. Comes Rabbi Akiva and says, Ashreichem Yisrael. He discovered something new. You're so lucky. Hashem cleanses you. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of psukim in Chumash and in Tanakh with this theme. V'shavta ad Hashem alekecha, v'shavar Hashem alekecha shvuscha, u'bikashta Hashem alekecha matzasa, l'fnei Hashem titaru, etc., etc. The pshat is, there's a very deep message Rabbi Akiva is saying, and it's very relevant to our times and our people, our communities, our children. Everybody knows in Mishnayos, every word is precise, every word is meticulous. There's no extra words. But it seems like here Rabbi Akiva adds two extra words. He says, Mikveh Yisrael Hashem, Ma mikveh metayres hatmeim, afa kadosh baruch hu metayres Yisrael. The words es hatmeim are unnecessary. We all know that a mikveh cleanses those who are impure. He could have said, Mikveh Yisrael Hashem, ma mikveh metayer. Just like a mikveh purifies. Who does it purify? We know that it purifies those who need tara. So afa kadosh baruch hu, the mikveh of the Jewish people is Hashem. Afa kadosh baruch hu metayres Yisrael. Emes. For the niggin, it wouldn't work if you take out the two words. Ma mikveh metayer. Right? Ma mikveh metayer. You need a satmeim. But if I'm not mistaken, the Mishnah was written before the niggin, I believe. So why did Rabbi put in these two words, as satmeim? So tell you a gewaldige Wort. Once heard from the Lebovits Rebbe, this is what he said. He made a siyum on Yuma, gewaldige, a very deep Wort. He said, we don't teach the Mishnah right. Akiva is saying something very special. So there's a Mishnah in Brachas, Daf Chavav, the last Mishnah of the second Perek in Brachas. Zav Shera Keri has to go to the mikveh, meaning Ezra made a takana that a Baal Keri, somebody who experiences an emission of seed, has to go to the mikveh before they learn or before they say Krishma. Emes later, the Chachamim nullified the takana because it was very impractical that people mamish couldn't daven in the morning before going to the mikveh. But this was the takana of Ezra, Tvilas Ezra. There was no davening, no saying Krishma until they went to the mikveh. Frag the Mishnah, what happens? Zov, Shera, Keri. Somebody is Tumah, a very serious Tumah Ziva. He has an emission of a liquid that makes him Tumah for 7 days. Somebody touches a corpse, he's Tumah for 7 days. Big Tumah. In middle of those 7 days, he sees seed, experiences seed. Should he go to the mikveh? Even if he goes to the mikveh, he's still Tumah. He has a much bigger Tumah. He has to wait 7 days. They have to sprinkle ashes. Paraduma. He has to wait 7 days. So what does it help if he goes to the mikveh? Zak the Mishnah, no, he should go to the mikveh. Even though he's going to remain Tumah with the bigger Tumah, but he's still going to become Tahir from the smaller Tumah, from Tumah's Kari. Who cares? If he wants to learn, if he wants to daven, if he wants to say Krishma. So even though he's going to remain Tumah, but by going to the mikveh, he'll get rid of Tumah's Kari, so he could daven. He could say Shema, even though he still has to wait 7 days for the bigger Tumah. Amar Rebbe Akiva, Ma mikveh metayer es hatmeim. A mikveh is metayer those who are Tamei and they remain Tamei after the mikveh. Doesn't mean ma mikveh metayer es hatmeim. A mikveh is metayer people who are Tamei and they become ois Tamei. No. Ma mikveh metayer es hatmeim, those who will remain Tamei after the mikveh, but still it doesn't delegitimize the fact that the mikveh was metayer them from a smaller tumah. Af HaKadosh Baruch Hu metayer es Yisrael, even though in some areas he's going to remain Tamei. What does this mean? Drew comes to the Rebbeinu Shalom before Rosh Hashanah and he says, God, listen, I'm a complicated story. Like so many people sitting here. And trust me, I'm not ready to deal with everything. I'm not now ready for a makeover, for a transformation. There's still a lot going on in my life. Chabrish koyach, chabrish sight. I don't have mental space. I don't have energy. But you know what? There's one thing that sits on my chest. There's one thing that's bothering me. I want to do tshuva for that. I want to change one detail in my life I don't like. It's really bothering me. It's not good. That I want to do. That I want to get rid of. That I want to repent for. You might think Hashem says, listen, if you want to be real, you want to deal with everything, fine. You want to start playing games this year, I'm not interested in games. Imagine somebody needs a loan, he's starting a new business. He comes to you, Baruch Hashem, you could lend money, and you give him a loan for $70,000. 3 years, interest free. 3 years later, you call him up new. He says, what's your name? La'adam, la'yudvarim ha'yolam. I never heard from you. I don't recognize you. I don't know you anything. What do they say? When you do somebody a favor, give them little rocks. Because they're going to throw them on you at some point. That should be little, not big. Say, was heißt, I gave you so much money. I don't know who you are. Get out of here. It's an old word. The Rashba says, minig mevatel halacha. A minig is stronger than halacha. How do you know? It said Pasha. The halacha is if you borrow money, you have to pay it back. The minig is that you don't pay it back. The charaya that minig mevatel halacha. Erev Rosh Hashanah, you're feeling guilty. You meet him in shul. You say, I want to meet you after davening. You go over to him and say, listen, the $70,000 ich weiß nicht. I'm not dealing with that. But $10,000 I'll pay you. You give him 10 check for that. Listen, you want to play games with me? I don't have time. You want to pay up? You want to make a settlement? You want to work out a time? Fine. Don't start lying to me. Yes, this, not. Other, nicht. Get out of my office. A Jew comes to Hashem. He says, one thing is bothering me. One sin. Get out of my office. Either you're ready to come clean. Don't start telling me this, this not. Amar Rebbe Akiva, Ashreichem Yisrael, Lifnei mi atem metarin. You're not dealing with a businessman, you're not dealing with a stranger, you're dealing with your father, with your mother. Now what happens if a child is estranged from their parents? We all know there are situations that parents and children are estranged, they're not on speaking terms. He has tinus, she has tinus. He has tinus, you did this, you said this, you owed me this, you do it this, whatever the reason is. Call up your father and you say, let's go out to eat. Comes out, you sit down, you say, listen, I'm not now getting into all the tinus. I'm not admitting to anything. Let's just talk about sushi. Let's just talk about something neutral. Let's talk about global warming. The father is not going to say, either we address all the problems or I'm leaving. You know why? Because any little relationship you can have with your child, you cherish it, you embrace it. Zok Rabbi Akiva lifnei mi atem metarin avichem shebashamayim. So a Yid comes to Hashem and he says, listen, I just want a little relationship with you. One little thing I have to get rid of. Or one thing I want to start. Ashreichem Yisrael, that this is like a mikveh. Ma mikveh metayres hatmeim. I know you're going to be tamei afterwards. But it doesn't take away from the fact that the mikveh accomplishes a revolutionary act in a person's life. It's so true in many people's lives. We often look at religion, at Yiddishkeit, as everything or nothing. And since I'm not going to be like my father, like my Zayd, I'm not going to be like the Noam Elimelech, the Kedushas, Levi, the Naftali, the Option Tzedek, Sam Sofer, the Kevege, the Baal Shem Tov, the Chofetz Chaim, the Vilna Gaon. So therefore, garnish, they say a Maisa, open your hearts. There was a Yid, Robert Schwartz, his name was Mamash, a big Balaveira, gewaldige Balaveira, and he had a chush in Aveiras. He wasn't stam, Mamash, he knew how to do it. But he dies, he comes up to heaven, and you know, they print out, Google gives the Rebbeinu Shalom a printout of everything you did, everything you said. They look at this guy's database, Mr. Schwartz, he didn't do one mitzvah in his life, only Averis. The Satan says, come to Gehenim, come to the barbecue. On the way to the barbecue, Malach Michal says, wait. On January 6, 1994, he was walking on 42nd Street in Manhattan. There was a homeless man. It was freezing outside. He said, Sir, I haven't had a drink in 2 days. I need one more nickel to be able to buy a bottle of orange juice. Please give me a nickel. Mr. Schwartz took out a nickel and gave it to the man. He did a mitzvah tzedakah. You have to reward him. A big emergency meeting in heaven. Here's a guy who sinned for 95 years. He did one little mitzvah. He gave a nickel to a homeless man, January, a cold night. So that's that. That's why we're not going to punish him. 4 hours they had a meeting. Even Hashem came to that meeting. Came the time of the verdict. They gave a clap and they said, give him back his nickel and let him go to hell. There's one problem. There are no nickels in heaven. In heaven you can find a Gemara, a talis cotton, a pair of tefillin, a mezuzah. You can't find money in heaven. Money is here, not there. So Rabbi's side, they're still waiting to find a nickel to be able to give it to him and send him where they want to send him. And he's still enjoying the benefits of his tzedakah. Amar Rebbe Akiva. Don't look at Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and say, this whole thing doesn't belong to me, it's too much, it's too big, leave me alone, slichus, leave me alone, I have enough guilt. Somebody asked me, what's the definition of a Jew? I said, a Jew is somebody that if he doesn't feel guilty, he blames himself. I have enough guilt in my life, leave me alone, it's too much. Amar Rebbe Akiva, Ashreichem Yisrael. The mikveh is not about eliminating everything. Focus on one nekuda in your life. One nekuda in your own life, in your relationships, in your truthfulness, in your honesty. Get rid of one stain. Focus on one issue that's bothering you, that you know is not good for you. Just do that. Clean that up. Ashreichem Yisrael. Because if it's metayir, even as atmeim, afa kadosh baruch hu metayir es Yisrael.
Ashreichem, Ashreichem, Ashreichem Yisroel. Ashreichem, Ashreichem, Ashreichem Yisroel. Omer Rebbe Akiva, Ashreichem Yisroel.
Da
Adabrono, Sholem Ba, the Mahanachai Veraya, the Mahanachai Veraya, Adabrono, Hashem Elokeinu, Avak Shotav Hey la 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 la, hey la 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 la, hey la 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 la. Because of my brothers and friends, because of my brothers and friends, please let me sing, please let me pray. Peace to you. The Mahanachai Veraya, the Mahanachai Veraya, Adabrono, Adabrono, Sholai Ba.
So Reb Nachman of Breslov once said,
Now we're talking.
He said, my dear friends, this. What's the difference between, and trust me, I know this from experience, Rabbi Nachman said, what's the difference between a speech and a song, a niggin? So if somebody's giving a speech and in the middle of their talking, somebody else starts talking, what do we call it in English? Interruption or heckling in modern slang. A heckler. But what happens if I'm singing a song and in the middle of my singing you start singing? We call it harmony. So I guess what he was saying is that the objective in life is to stop talking and to start singing, because there's two types of people. There are people who are always talking, and the world is always interrupting them. Because when anybody opens their mouth, you're interrupting them. And then there are people who are singing, and then the world is harmonizing with them. What he didn't say, but I think is true, is that some people, even when they sing, they're talking. And some people, even when they speak, they're singing. So I want to bless you that this year, you and us and I, even when we speak, we should be able to sing. People who sing, everyone is harmonizing with them. The people who speak, everybody's interrupting them. So I'll tell you a maisa. They say the story happened with the Chayza of Lublin. Nobody's interrupting me, they're just harmonizing with me, it's fine. The Chayza of Lublin says, I want to ask you one question. In your life, have you ever hurt somebody in a really serious way? Is there a Yiddish Afroy, a Bas Yisrael, a young Jewish woman whose feelings you might have really hurt in the past? Were you married before? Were you engaged before? Did you break up a shidduch without asking forgiveness? Because sometimes what happens is, if I hurt somebody very badly in life and I never asked forgiveness, so there's like a negative energy. And that blocks certain brachas, certain blessings, certain energies to come to me. He said, Rabbi, I was never engaged. This is my first wife. He says, but did you hurt anybody's feelings? Think. When you were younger, did something happen? He says, no, nothing happened. I wasn't engaged. I wasn't in a relationship with anybody. I didn't break anything up. He says, when you were a child, you never made a promise to anybody. He says, it was nothing. He says, what's the mice? He says, when I was a child, my next door neighbor, we used to play, all the kids on the block. So there was a little girl I used to play with. And everybody used to joke, they're going to marry each other. And one day, I was 9 years old. And we climbed together up a tree on the block. And she asked me if I would marry her. And I said, yeah, of course I will. But I was 9 years old. It wasn't. Then I got older. She got older. We moved on. Chayza says, did you ever ask her mechila? Did you ever ask her forgiveness? What forgiveness? Of course I didn't ask her forgiveness. We were friends as kids, and then, you grow up. Life goes on. He says, she believed you. She believed you that you're going to marry her. You have to go ask her mechila. He says, Rebbe, I'm married now for 20 years. This is when I was a kid. I haven't seen her in more than 20 years. He says, I told you, go to Leipzig. What's in Leipzig? Chayza says, go to Leipzig. He goes to Leipzig. Where do you go to Leipzig? So he goes to the marketplace there where everybody is. It starts pouring. So he runs under one of the vendors. They have these umbrellas. The canopies, yeah. He runs under a canopy with a lot of people. They're protecting themselves from the rain. So it's very tight, everybody is there, and suddenly he feels there's like an elbow in his ribs, somebody's like in your ribs. So he takes a look, and he sees, it's a woman there who's also pushing. So he moves away. To give her space, tznius, boundaries. So she tells him, "You're still running away from me." So he takes a look and he sees. Says, Ploynes Bas Ploynes, his neighbor for many years ago. So I can't believe you're here. I never asked you mechila. So I've been married for 20 years. I didn't have a child. I know I promised you to marry you. I never asked you forgiveness. Please, 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 please forgive me. If I hurt you, I lied to you, I deceived you, I backstabbed you, I cheated. I ask you, please, please forgive me with a full heart. There shouldn't be any negative energy between us. So she looks at him, she sheds a tear, she says, I forgive you. Gewaldig. He leaves Leipzig, decides he's going to go back to visit his mother. On the way home, he's going to go visit his mother where she lived, in his old city where he grew up. Goes there, and the neighbors already passed away, but the brother of this girl was still there. He was living there, Yash, in the home of his parents. Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom. He says, by the way, regards from your sister. Says, my sister? Which sister? Says, my sister? You're insane. You're Meshuggah. I saw your sister in Leipzig 3 days ago. Regards. He says, du bist den ganzen Meshuggah. You didn't see my sister? I spoke to her. My sister? My sister's not here anymore. She's gone for years. Well, she died? She died 20 years ago. You don't know the Maisa? I said, I don't know the Maisa. What's the Maisa? He says, my sister never got over her connection to you. Never. You got married. You got married in another city. Your parents went, your siblings went, my parents went, neighbors. But that night, my sister didn't wake up. She was so heartbroken. She was so devastated, she didn't wake up. My sister's dead for 20 years. So he understood that the Chayza arranged that the Neshama should come down just to be able to forgive him for the pain that he caused her. You know, so Machtzedek asks, what's the difference between children and adults? And he answers, adults keep grudges and children don't keep grudges. How many times does your son or daughter tell you, Tati, I hate you, I'm not speaking to you again? In 10 minutes you give them ice cream and they're your best friends. Mommy, I hate you, I wish I had a different mommy. 10 minutes later, you give them a hug and you're the best mommy in the world. An adult tells you, I'm not speaking to you again. 15 years later, they still don't tell you good Shabbos. They don't invite you to the Eineklach Bar Mitzvahs. Because 15 years ago, they had a dispute in business. Children are immature, adults are mature. Why do adults keep grudges and children forget right away? So this is what he says. Children choose being happy over being right. Adults choose being right over being happy. We would rather be miserable, but we're going to be right. So I won't speak to my uncle, I won't speak to my brother-in-law, I won't speak to my sister-in-law, I won't speak to my brother, I won't speak to my shutter for 25 years. Chas v'shalom to pick up a phone to say, I'm sorry, because I'm going to be right. I'll be miserable, but I'll be right. So the Mishnah says in Yuma that even Yom Kippur could only atone between man and God. Between man and man, you have to speak to the person. Even the Rebbeinu Shalom says, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You're the creator of the world, Zay Moichel. I'm sorry. I could only forgive you what you did to me. I can't forgive you what you did to him. So I want to bless myself and bless you on this holy night of Selichos, to realize that in life we can't afford to have negative energy between ourselves, between people. It's the worst thing. It's a terrible thing. We should have the courage and the confidence to be able to create bridges between people, to be able to create peace between people, not to have grudges and carry resentments. Tell you an unbelievable mice with the Helik about Ditch, but first give us a I'll leave you with this little insight. We say in Selichos, b'motzei menucha kidam nucha tchila, l'shat aznecha mimorim l'shmoya el harina bel atfila. So there's tefillah and there's rina, and before tefillah there's rina. Rina is a lashon of rananu, joy, celebration, dancing. How does that come to Selichos? L'shmoya el harina. La tefillah, I understand. What's the rina? Rina is a niggin. That's why before tefillah we had to have a kumzitz of a bringing to have rina. L'shmoya el harina v'la tefillah. So the truth is, the Baal Shem Tov, the holy Baal Shem Tov, once came to a town. They said, Rebbe, we need you to speak to our chazan. We have a very strange chazan. In Kippur, he sings through the whole Al-Chet. Al-Chet, he starts dancing. Michael Amishta, Lashon Hara, Maso Matan, embezzlement. Etanst, he's dancing. Other is Meshuggah, he's delusional. What are you dancing for? Well, so he says, okay, let me see him. The chazan comes to him. I hear that you start al-chet, you start dancing. Was tanzt du? Was tanzt du? Chatoim shanachayavim oila, skilla, sreifa, what are you dancing? says, Rebbe, why shouldn't I dance? He says, it's confession of sins. What's the dance? So he says, the king has a beautiful palace. Different people are in charge of different duties in the palace. This one is in charge of the food. This one is in charge of the heat. This one is in charge of the guests. This one is in charge of the art. This one is in charge of the treasures. Everyone is in charge of different parts. It says, and then there's a person who's in charge on cleaning up the mess. He's given a broom and given a mop, and he cleans up the mess. So tell me, when he's cleaning up the dirt, he doesn't dance, he doesn't sing? Of course he sings. He sings because he's cleaning up. He has the schus to clean up the dirt in the king's palace. He says, Al Chet, you're cleaning up the dirt in the Shamas Yisrael. It's the king's holiest place. Of course you sing. The Gavaldik schus to clean up the mess. That's Lishmaya El Harina Velat Tefillah. The Yisoid of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur Selichos is that a Jew has to realize he's cleaning up the little dirt in the most precious, beautiful, perfect, holiest soul, which is his own or her own. So the Baal Shem Tov once gave a mashal about Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur and Selichos. You know, now is the season of the Chazonim. Yoeli is going to go Chazan Zich in Uman. But all the Chazanim and Baalei Tefillah, this is the season, the high season. The rabbis give sermons, and the Chazanim give nigunim. They say a Maisa that the Kazakhs once kidnapped a rabbi, a Chazan, and the president of the synagogue on Yom Kippur night. Said, I'm going to shoot you all, but you have a last wish. So the rabbi says, a whole year I prepare for my Yom Kippur sermon, let me say it. Sure. Chazan, what's your last wish? A whole year I prepare my songs for Yom Kippur, let me sing it. President, what about you? Your last wish? He says, kill me first. So the Baal Shem Tov says that there was once a lion in the jungle, and the lion got into a bad mood. When the blade gets into a bad mood, everyone is terrified. He's the king of the jungle. What do you do? So the fox, Rabbi Fuchs said, I have the Kabbalah 300 jokes. I'm going to say them to the lion, and he'll laugh. Everything will be good. That's what Baal Shem Tov says. If they start marching to the king, the fox is going to give over 300 stories, jokes. On the way, the fox turns to the wolf. The wolf says, the wolf, I forgot 100 jokes. He says, okay, you have 200. A few miles weiter, Reb Hirsch, he turns to the Hirsch, to the deer, I forgot another 100 jokes. He says, okay, you have 100 left, it's fine. The mamish by the lion's den, the lion comes out, thousands of animals, turns around, he says, the battle, turns to the bear, I forgot the last 100. Oh, Gewalt, the lion is here, he forgot. So the fox turns to him, he says, basically, each and every one of you got to go and just speak to him what you have to say without me. Baal Shem Tov says people hire Chazonim and Rabbonim as a fox. You should give over all the nice entertaining jokes. He said at some point, turn to the people, say, talk to them face to face, say what's on your heart. Sadly, many of us were so used to the routine that we're not there anymore. But everybody knows in the Baal Shem Tov Shul in Yom Kippur there was a kid who screamed Kukuriku, because that's all he knew. So I want to bless you. You should have the courage, this Selichos, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, to be able just to say Kukuriku, meaning to be able to speak to Hashem naked, pure, without any agendas. If you have to use your own words, you use your own words. You could speak in English, you could speak in Yiddish, you could even speak in French. They say that he knows different languages. But to be able to speak directly from your heart. Before we go to Selichos, finish off with a Maisa of the Holy Baditsheva. So in Shabbos, Selichos, Baditsheva is the Oyev Yisrael. It's good to tell a Maisa about the Baditsheva. So the Holy Baditsheva, the Helikavitz Baditsheva, his yahrzeit is also Tishrei. He had terrible, terrible opposition. Terrible. This was the time of the big machloikus of the Mesnagdim against the Chassidim. They hunted him down, they persecuted him terribly. There was a Yid, got him rid of, he was a Rav in Pinsk, they threw him out of Pinsk. He came to Baditchev. In Baditchev, there was a Choshev Yid, a wealthy Jew who despised the Heilige Baditchev. And he always tried to prove to the community that he's unsuitable to be a Rav. He's from the Kat, he's from the cult, you can't have him as a Rav. But he never managed to succeed. Once, he conceived a scheme. Erev Yom Kippur in the afternoon, he came to the Heilige Baditchev and he said, Rabbi, I want to ask you Mechila. He was a vicious man, shrewd man. I want to ask you Mechila for all the Hagmas Nefesh I caused you. Would you be me Moichel? Baditchev says, of course, what's the question? Gives him a hug, gives him a kiss. Says, Rebbe, don't you believe that deserves a l'chaim? A drink that I, the big misnagid of Baditchev, made up with you. Baditchev says, of course. He had Zeksa Neinsik. You know what Zeksa Neinsik is? You don't know. He's also 96% alcohol. You drink a little Kelish, you drink a little cup, you're out. He had a little bottle. Fills up a cup for the Baditchev, a cup for himself. What was his plan? Rebbe say l'chaim, we made up. He gives a little sip, pours the rest in his bosom. Baditchev drinks. L'chaim, this is what he wants. Says Rebbe, a misnagid like me to make up with you with a Chassidish Rebbe, it deserves a second drink. Don't you say? It's Zavada. Pours him a second cup of Zeksa Neinsike. Baditchev says, L'chaim, 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 Ta'avis Yisro, drinks it. This Yid pours the cup down his bosom. Says, Rebbe, 3 times is a chazaka. To make it really stick, let's do a third L'chaim, Avada. Gives him a third cup of Zeksa Neinsike, 96%. Baditchev says, L'chaim, drinks it. He finishes it. He says, Rebbe, gut yomtiv, a gut yor, gut yomtiv, he leaves the house. He's so happy. He understands when Kol Nidrei is coming, with the Baditchev is going to be somewhere under a table. And then he'll be able to prove what type of Rav they have in Baditchev. A guy in Kippur, Kol Nidrei, is stone smashed. Verstehst doch? This is what the Chassidim are like. He underestimated the Heilige Baditchev. Comes Kol Nidrei, comes into Shul Sameach v'Toiv Leiv. This man was never so besimcha Yom Kippur like this Yom Kippur. It's like the Maisa, the Jew, goes to Selichos Yom Kippur depressed. So he meets a Letz here on Forshay. Says, why are you so depressed? He says, I didn't do one Aveda this year. I checked on my iPhone, I didn't do one sin. The whole video is going to be in vain. I didn't do one Aveda. Says, what's the problem? There's a half an hour left for Yom Kippur. Says, what can you do in a half an hour? He says, plenty. Says, Lamosh, says, your next door neighbor, you love him or you hate him? He says, for sure I hate him. So why don't you go in before Yom Kippur and give him a beating? Would he have a better Aveda than beating up a Jew out of Yom Kippur? Then you'll be able to do Tshuva oh Yom Kippur. This is a Gavaldik idea. Goes into the man's house, starts hitting him and shoving him and punching him and kicking him for 20 minutes. L'shem yichud, but the chilu rechim wants to do an Aveda. Poor guy is verhackt, verwundet, verblushet, zu blutig. He leaves the house, Sameach v'Toiv Leiv. Now he's going to have a real chefza of Yom Kippur. Going to be a chlois Yom Kippur. He'll be able to do vidui and bizich mesmad and do tshuva. As he's going down the street to Shul, the wife of the beaten Jew comes out. Says, Rabbi Yid, I don't know who you are. I don't see you, but it was kemel nishvissen vasser mitzvah dos tersh getan. You'll never know what a great mitzvah you just did. Anyway, comes Kol Nidrei. This guy is so happy. He was never so happy. He got the Baditchev Rav drunk. Who walks in for Kol Nidrei? Rabbi Yitzchak Baditchev with the talis, with the kittel, goes over to the place, davens. Kiloyoya, regularly Yom Kippur. The minig in Baditchev, the minig in many kehillas, after Yom Kippur Maidev, they stay in Shul to say the whole Tillim. It's a minig in different communities. Baditchev used to be the chazan for Tillim. So after Maidev, Yom Kippur, he gets up to the stender and he starts saying Tillim. This person is very upset. He had his whole plan, didn't work. The Rebbe was there, davening regularly. He wasn't drunk, he wasn't intoxicated, everything was normal. But Baditchev was the chazan. He comes to Kapitel Mem Beis. Start saying a pasuk 3 times. B'zois yadati ki chafatzta bi ki lo yaria oivi aloi. Literally it means, how do I know that you want me, that you like me? Ki lo yaria oivi aloi. You won't allow my enemies to triumph over me. Yaria, you won't allow my enemies, oivi alai, my enemies to triumph over me. He says it 3 times. And then he translates in Yiddish, in middle of Tehillim as the Chazan, but his translation is not the Pshat. He gives his own translation. This is what he says. Bezois yadati ki chafatzta bi, vi velich wissen gotten you, ad hast me lib, ki loi yaria oivi aloi. Es kämel nicht tan schlecht zu mein Feind zu lieb mir. How do I know you love me? That even my biggest enemy will not suffer because of me. If you really love me, make sure that no Jew in the world, even the one who hates my guts, don't allow him to have any ra. Lo yaria oivi aloi. That's all I ask you. If you love me, make sure to clean away anything even from my worst enemy. He says this 3 times. Even this Yid who mamish had a leva Evan, you can understand he had a heart of rock. He melted. Middle of Tillim, he comes over to the Rebbe. Says, Rebbe, Zayme Moichel. He couldn't take it anymore. He says, Azat Tzaddik. This is all he asks Hashem the night of Yom Kippur. That this lowlife, this mushchis, who wanted to get him drunk out of Yom Kippur, he shouldn't suffer. He became mamish the greatest chassid of the Baditchever of that Yom Kippur that year. The greatest bracha you can have in life, one of the greatest brachas, is that you know that between you and another Jew, there's no negativity, there's no negative energy. So mamish, for this year, Tov Shanayim Vav, we should have the courage to make the call, to send the email, but better to make the call to that one person that we're not on speaking terms, that one person we have an issue with. It's your fault, it's not your fault, you're right, you're wrong. In life, it's better to be happy than to be right. So you'll be wrong, but be happy.
Today.